Well, I'll ask you first. How did your presentation go today from your point of view? Exactly. I doubt that. I doubt that. I've seen you on camera many times. But I know I'm supposed to be talking about day in the life of a sales leader, sales director at Lookout. So, and you are a partner of mine, a very important part as a sales engineer at Lookout. So it's definitely, as you know, a teamwork effort with any technical sales role. And, we're obviously, our team under Tony is, responsible for revenue generation, not just Tony, obviously under Bob and everyone in the company, but really just meeting clients, introducing them to Lookout. We have to kind of be the first impression of the Lookout company. So you need to make sure no matter, where you are, what kind of day you're having, especially if it's, one of these conference events where, most back in the day we were all in person. You really have to make sure like it's a good day. As you interact with people, it's their first impression of your company, and you always want it to be a positive one. So that's something that I always keep in mind as we're meeting people. And a lot of times salespeople are like, yeah, I was born to do this. It's a personality. It's kind of like your conversational nation. We're normally very outgoing people. And I'll be at my kids' soccer practices and talking to people about, oh, where do you work? Oh, Comcast. What do you do there? Do you work in security? And you're always just talking to people and trying to understand what they do and what's important to them. And it's in our job, it's very important to ask questions and listen. I think that's a big. People don't think of salespeople that way. Of course, that sales sometimes has a very negative connotation to it, but the good salespeople are very good listeners, and you're picking things up, and you're hoping that in your conversations with different organizations that you really can be like the eyes and the ears of the organization as well. Because in a conversation, when people like you and when they start, getting, it stops being a business conversation. It's just really informal. They're the best calls. And really, when you're not using slides, you're just conversationally talking about their projects, their priorities, what's pressing right now, because you're really just trying to support their business and support what they're trying to get done. And that's when you really get some really good tidbits of information about, some of your competitors, possibly that they're working with, or, different technologies that, are of interest to that organization. And so, like anything, we're not, existing in a vacuum as a technology. It's a whole ecosystem, and we want to make sure that we fit within that ecosystem. So always listening for those type of cues in a conversation. Yeah, yeah. It's funny because in business school, I studied marketing and management. And it was funny because I realized right on the way, everybody used to say, oh, I'm going into marketing. It was like sales was not the preferred path coming out of college, business school, for sure. But my family, they're all entrepreneurs. Everyone had small businesses where I grew up. My dad was an entrepreneur, my uncles, and I went to Catholic school. So I say Catholic school prepares you for being a salesperson because you're constantly fundraising through your entire life. So I've been selling candy bars, gift wrap, like everything Catholic school throws at you. So I'm well prepared for being in sales. And what I love about sales is just it's so entrepreneurial. Even at company the size of Lookout, you really run your own business within the company. You have to have really good time management. You have to really prioritize your time because, your number, your quota, you make or break it. And there is unlimited potential, but you have to really focus to make sure, are the accounts I'm working with the ones who are prioritizing mobile security today, or whichever product you might be focused on at that time in your career. So it's a lot of that, just digging in and prioritizing your time to make sure you are spending it in the right place. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, that's a great question because no, I have no engineering background, but I did get into very technical sales very early in my career. So when I was like 24, I started in aerospace and defense industry in a very specific like mathematics background. So my account, my number one government account was NASA. The best story ever is I had to repeat calculus in college, even though I took AP calculus in high school. And I used to say, when am I ever going to need calculus? And then I started working like truly a mathematics specific career with NASA, and I saw calculus all the time at all their symposiums. It was hilarious. I was like, I'm getting total payback here. But so you really just have to be a sponge. Like I don't have the background, but like you have to be interested in technology enough to like pick it up. And I really just feel like a sponge. I don't learn from looking at webinars when you come onboarding, sales training. That does not teach me. What teaches me is getting in front of clients and shadowing my peers, my bosses, etc., hearing what questions the clients are asking and hearing the response. And once I hear it the first time, I know it. Now I've learned it. And so you really do have to be comfortable in a sales role if you're in a technical sales role, and specifically with cybersecurity. Very comfortable with change, as we all know. And you have to be very comfortable not knowing everything. You are not meant to be the expert in the room, the genius in the room. You need to be the matchmaker. I need to understand the questions being asked to me and then be the matchmaker within the company who gets the right person to the table to answer that most efficiently, most effectively. And so that's my job. I don't need to have the answers on the fly. I need to be the person who gets the answers delivered by the best person in the company for that account. Yes. Yeah. I guess it really, it totally, it depends on the situation. It's always like situational, but in some cases you need to just almost drop it. And sometimes by putting pause on it and like not giving them the power to, continue that type of attitude, and maybe in some cases like straight up try to work around them. And usually, honestly, in those situations, there's someone in that meeting and in that room who's like rolling their eyes as much as we are as a sales organization. So you can pick that out, and that's why these face-to-face interactions are so much better, because you can feel the energy in the room. You know who is like, oh, this guy is just taking this off the track, And yeah, 100%, 100%. So, and even Zoom. I mean, you do get it over Zoom too. You get a much better sense of who's in control, and who's really asking the questions and who defers to who in the room. But it's not as great as being in person. Being in person is always the ideal scenario. So, yeah, different ways. But thankfully, they're the minority of our experiences, and not the usual. Yeah. No, you can't be because especially in our roles, there, we have too much of a territory to focus on. If you have a roadblock that seems pretty secure, it's like move on. You stay professionally persistent. You keep at the top of mind and continue to give those updates when like our acquisition last week. But like, do not waste too much time. That's what you need to know when to move on because there's some things that just aren't worth the time, and you need to know when to what is it? Know when to hold them. Know when yes, hold them exactly. Yes. Yeah. Right. What? Hey, likewise. Thanks, Victoria. Talk to you soon. Bye.